real quick and go through this. This Online Safety Act has become a what what word do you want to use that's in the British parlance? Because it's probably not. Omnishambles is one of those UK words I really, really like. Debacles. On a scale of bit of trouble, as the UK would say, all the way up to omnishambles, which pick your example of that one. Where on the scale are we? Because I don't think this has gone the way proponents or opponents have thought this was going to go.
Yeah, I'd put this beyond an omnishambles. This is just a complete joke. It's a complete mess. And it's at the point now where we're seeing cross-party opposition to this legislation. So Owen Jones, who was a former member of the Labour Party, I think he left a few months ago. He's quite a big name in left-wing politics here in the UK. And Nigel Farage, who is the leader of Reform UK, are both in agreement that this is a terrible piece of legislation. The government's argument towards it is that it's going to protect. Sorry, yeah, go on.
Those two don't agree on anything. So for them, just for the background on that, sorry to interrupt you.
No, absolutely. Like you said, they don't agree on anything. And so the fact that they've actually found some common ground in opposing this legislation just shows you how much the government has messed up in this sense. And the point that the government is trying to put across is that this is going to protect children specifically by restricting access to certain content, particularly pornography. Essentially, when you would go onto a porn site now, you would be asked to provide some type of identity check to validate your identity and prove that you're over the age of 18. What the government hasn't realized is that VPNs exist, so people can just get around this within the space of about 30 seconds. And it's also worrying because a lot of these sites, if you're uploading your data to these sites, there's nothing to stop online hackers or criminals from obtaining this data, using this to blackmail you, using this to exploit you. And so the government's excuse that this is just to protect children and people online. In fact, it's doing the complete opposite of that.
Not only that, but the internet moves a lot faster than governments do. So people look pretty quick. And look, the porn thing is what grabs the headlines. And For the Children has been the excuse to do all sorts of things over the years, always will be. You know, I was told For the Children we had to ban Snoop Dogg, and he just hosted the Olympics. So, you know, For the Children has its lifespans. What the internet did really quickly, though, is they started showing all the pretty mundane sites that were getting blocked. And they start mocking you. And then they start showing, you know, the internet is pretty much undefeated. It's faster. It's more agile. This is one of those things where government just looks incompetent because, as a lot of people pointed out, it's like, do you not understand VPNs exist? Do you not understand that, you know, the Communist Party of China tried to enforce this with way more ability than any Western government will ever have, thank God, at least for the moment, to enforce this. They can't enforce them. They can't even keep kids from playing video games on grandma's account. That's the problem they're having with the age restrictions. This isn't going to work. Everybody knows it's not going to work, but they're doing it anyway under the guise of children and pornography. And we all understand that what this really is a data issue, an identity issue. Why did they push ahead with this when everybody knew it wasn't going to work?
So this is the question, and it's actually rather strange because just a few weeks ago, the government was talking about how young people should be entrusted to vote in our democracy, should be entrusted, you know, to go to the ballot box and choose who they want to be leading their country. And now we're seeing them turn around and say, actually, no, they can't be trusted to watch pornography online. And again, we saw it in the first few weeks of this government. When it first came to power, they pushed through with the generational tobacco ban, which essentially bans anybody born after the 1st of January 2009 from ever being able to smoke a traditional tobacco product. And so it's rather hypocritical and paradoxical from this government to turn around and say, well, we're going to trust young people in one sense, but then take away their responsibilities and their freedoms in another sense. But like you said, I just think the government is so short-sighted and doesn't actually understand why it's doing this or how it's actually supposed to be implemented. And you mentioned VPNs. There was a BBC article that reported one particular VPN supplier saw an increase in downloads of 1,800% the day after the legislation was brought into action. So clearly people are just avoiding this. And some people in the government, and there are rumors circulating around Westminster, that the government is actually going to then launch an attack on VPNs as well, which, if that happens, is just completely crazy. And I wouldn't know what to say at that point. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but it's just complete insanity. And I really don't understand what the government's intentions are behind this. They're turning around and saying that they're protecting children when, in actuality, they're just taking away their rights and their freedoms.